Hello everybody. Today I filmed a video about composting, how I compost and how I find it easiest to work it into my everyday life. I know that composting can sound really tedious and complicated, but it's really not if you do a few simple things. So if you're thinking about composting or you're already composting and you want to see some of my tips and tricks to kind of see if there's anything you want to use in your routine you already have, go ahead and watch this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. That would be awesome. And thanks for watching. So the first thing is I went on Amazon when I moved into this house after I got my composting bin, because in my old house, my roommates had an open bin where they would, under the sink, where they would just put all the fruits and vegetables, and then when they got a chance, they would empty it out. The problem with that is it attracts flies and all this stuff. So I got this bin, you can see in the little side video, it says compost. It's super cute. I just keep it in my kitchen, and it actually comes with a lid that has a charcoal filter on it, which is amazing because you don't smell anything, and if you can't take it out that night or it's raining or whatever, you can let it sit a couple days and it's not going to smell up your whole kitchen. So that is a really, really great buy. That made composting a lot easier for me. So I leave that bin in my kitchen, right under the counter where I have my cutting board. So whenever I'm cutting up fruits and vegetables, I'll put the scraps that I'm not going to eat or save in that bin. And then when I get a chance, I go ahead and I empty it out. So anything like fruits, vegetables, eggshells, coffee grounds can go in that compost bin. So what I do is I go ahead and I bring it outside, and then I empty it out into my larger compost bin. So these usually run for a pretty high price just because they're so big, but I got mine for $12 off a buy and sell app from someone who didn't want it anymore, probably because the little flap that sits at the bottom is broken. But it's fine, it still works, and I just dump everything in there. And then you want to make sure that you mix it. So I just take a rake and I stick it in there and I mix it up every so often. And I leave the lid on and it locks so that little critters don't get in there. As long as you're not putting any grains or rice or bread in there, then you're not going to attract mice. And if you don't attract mice, then you're not going to attract snakes. If you're putting any meat products in there, you're going to attract a lot of vermin that you don't want. So I highly suggest against that. Also, no cheese or processed food because it's not going to break down anytime soon. So I do that, and then so that's considered my green material, and then you need about 50% green material and brown material. And so brown material is going to be dry sticks, dry grass, little twigs. And so I just kind of gather them around my backyard and I break them up and I throw them in there just to kind of keep it aerated, and so that it doesn't get too wet, and it helps it decompose nicely. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It pretty much does everything itself. The one I have, it doesn't have a bottom to it. So worms and little bugs and stuff can crawl in by themselves. There's lots of flies and bugs, but that's all good. That's stuff you want to help it break down. If you don't have a big backyard, you can compost in a bin. I know my brother made one out of one of those plastic tubs that you buy at Walmart for storage. That you use in your closet usually, and then I think he just poked holes in it so that there was air, and he just does that, and he puts grass and fruits and vegetables in that and does it on a smaller scale. I obviously haven't even had mine a year, and it's not filled up very far. Of course, when you put stuff in, it is decomposing as you go, so you shouldn't really ever get to the very tippy top. In the old house I had, we had a similar model to the one I have now, and it filled up, but that's because we weren't like using the, gosh, I can't think of the name. What is the name of it? So one of the reasons I love composting is because it just really cuts down on your waste. Think about like how many things when you're preparing a meal that would normally go in the trash that doesn't have to if you're composting. Like the ends of carrots, the ends of any vegetables you're eating, like avocado skins, the stems of cilantro, tomato stems, banana peels, all of this stuff that normally would go right in the trash doesn't have to. It can go outside and give back, and takes away from like the amount of trash you're putting out on the end of the street every day. But it also is just like repurposing that food to eventually become compost, and then you can use it in your garden beds and to fertilize different things. I love composting though, because I feel so guilty when like I buy a bunch of fruit and vegetables all eager and like expecting to use them all, and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna cook everything this time or eat up everything this time, but then you don't and it goes bad. And instead of just dumping it all in the trash, at least you can chop it up, cut it up, and stick it in your composting bin. And then it's like, it's not a total waste because it's not sitting in some landfill or filling up another plastic bag of trash. It's, you know, going back into the environment. And I'm just so big about, you know, repurpose, reuse, recycle, not to be wasteful. And sometimes we can't help it. Sometimes we can't use everything in our fridge. But if we can, you know, responsibly live and responsibly waste our food, then I think, you know, we're doing our part as a human on this beautiful green planet. And if everyone composted, we would see a lot less trash. So I hope that you feel encouraged to go ahead and try it in your own kitchen, try it in your own backyard. It's really not hard, and I love doing it. It really takes away a lot of my guilt from just throwing things straight in the trash. So